Hi, I'm Carol Van Ornum of the Civil War Roundtable Congress. I'm joined today by Penny Gasbarre of the Wayne County Civil War Roundtable. Welcome, Penny.
Thank you.
The Civil War Roundtable Congress created an initiative to interview roundtable leaders around the country for the purpose of sharing their roundtables, successes, and their challenges with the Civil War Roundtable community. We also hope that they will offer some ideas and their perspectives in ways that can help others grow. So Penny, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up, what schools you attended, and your career and interest in the Civil War.
Well, I didn't get very far. Born and raised in Worcester, Ohio, and my interest in history was nil until one day I realized, I could go to those meetings that are being advertised. And I started attending Jerry Payne's Civil War Roundtable for the Wayne County. Actually at that time it was Wayne and Holmes County. And Jerry had programs scheduled and he would do quite a few himself. And of course, everybody enjoyed Jerry. And then I became more interested in the Civil War then and was more and picked up like literature that he would have laying for us to take. And so that's really where it started.
And what did you have a career or any education that you want to share with us?
Well, I've been a clerical person for 40 some years, and I'm retired now, which gave me time to do more things with the roundtable. So I worked in various places, the hospital and insurance agencies, the newspaper, Wayne County Community Foundation, and things like that.
Tell me more about the Wayne County Roundtable. How many members you have, when you were established, things like that.
The roundtable was technically established probably 25 years ago with Ty Turning. And when Ty retired, Jerry took over. And it was held in various places with Ty Turner and with Jerry. And then it eventually ended up at the Wayne County Public Library. And the biggest problem at the library, which isn't really a problem, but it's an inconvenience, is they close. And they start announcing a half an hour before they close that they close. So we moved to the Wayne County Historical Society in their schoolhouse so that we could be there a little bit longer and have question and answers in that.
Okay. How many members do you have?
That's hard to say because we average between 30 and 60 people, but we open the presentations to the public. So some people are not technically a roundtable member, and Jerry couldn't get people to do it, and they still don't do it. They don't pay dues. I mean, we would have to do like some other roundtables do, and like stop them at the door and charge in order to do something. And we didn't want to do that while we were at the library because it was frowned upon. And I couldn't see changing that when we moved to the Historical Society because that leaves a sour taste in their mouth. Oh, you changed venues and then now you're going to make us pay. So we're just kind of coasting along.
Okay. How long have you been a leader for your roundtable?
I'm in my third year.
And what was your assessment when you took over from Jerry?
Well, Jerry had a good roundtable, and then right before COVID, I know he was having about 75 to maybe 100 in for his programs. And then I hate to say it, but we all do. After COVID, everything kind of went downhill. So when I took over, it was probably between 30 and 50 people going into the library to the events that was going on, and so it was also not. It was since we were at the library, you couldn't ask for, dues, membership dues, or things like that. So Jerry constantly was telling people where he was spending money in hopes to get people to donate money in. I picked up on that pretty quickly, and my husband and I started donating regularly so that Jerry could have presenters, because most of the people that presented knew Jerry, had done presentations with Jerry throughout the years, and did it, without charge. So the nowadays that doesn't happen. It's very few and far. The presenters like to at least have their travel reimbursed.
So have there been people that followed in your footsteps and donated more?
Not really. They just, I don't know. I think I'm not sure what they're thinking. I don't out and out like demand, dues. We mention it, but we just go on. That's why I did that fundraiser last fall that you put in your newsletter. That's why I did that. And I think I've learned a lot from that also. So, money's always going to be an issue.
What are your most shining or valuable moments or accomplishments that you've had?
Bringing Kurt Fields to our roundtable. I worked hard to work on with a few other roundtables that could afford to contribute to bring Kurt. And I found a sponsor to help bring Kurt, because, traveling from Tennessee to Worcester, Ohio is no short distance. And so, by the time you take care of all of that. So, and we packed them in. All three places that Kurt went to were packed.
Where were you at the time? At the library or the historical?
The Historical Society. Yeah,
Right.
so we have a small schoolhouse. When we packed in 115 people in there for Kurt, and they were smarter at Johnson Island. They did a dinner, and so they were at a restaurant, and they had about 95 people in there. And Dover, in Tuscarawas County, they had about 100 people in their area. So Kurt really brought the people in.
Do you think that that generated interest for attending further programs?
I do. I do. I feel that our attendance stayed up a little while. People paid more attention, and because some people missed it. And the fact that they missed it, they realized they needed to pay better attention. It's not like we don't put publicity out there. We do, but sometimes, people just, they're busy.
Maybe we should send Kurt to each one of the roundtables, and then we'd all boost our attendance.
He'd like that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm in conversation with him right now about trying to put something on for next year. I thought Cleveland did a wonderful job, and they had Kurt to so many places. I think 6 venues or something like that. And so I want to try and do that in our area, because I think our schools and everything else would benefit from having Kurt. So yeah.
Has there been a continuing challenge or challenges? And if so, tell us about it.
Well, I think every roundtable is going to tell you the continuing challenges, finding the funds for having presenters, and I not to say that all, you just have some really quality presenters out there, and of course they cost a little bit more money because they're in demand, and they've studied harder and longer, and they're well worth it.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle to search to find a presenter that wants to come to Worcester, Ohio. Where's that? And luckily there's quite a few locals still doing things. Local meaning within a 90 to 120 mile radius, where they're willing to come and spend time at Worcester and then drive home late at night. So it's kind of, that's a big challenge.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your governing board. I'm interested to know that.
Okay, well, we actually have a team. We don't call them a board, and of course Jerry's on it. And then I have Ross Lilly. He does our trivia. He said he's learned so much in researching. One of the reasons I really enjoy having Ross on the board or the team is because he's traveled to battlefields, and he remembers so many different things. So he works on our trivia. And then I have Charles Leopold, and he's actually a presenter this coming Tuesday but that's the first time he's presented since I've been on the board. But he's our military chair at the Historical Society, and he's connected with our local honors group that we call it the triple nickel. They go to, and they do the honors burials and things like that. So he has a good military connection. And then Raylene Haverty, she is my graphic arts designer, and I think the roundtable would flop if we didn't have her. She makes such great publicity flyers for us to post everywhere that I just don't think I could go on without her. And that's all we have now. There's just those.
I'm curious about like a treasurer position or a marketing committee. Have you given thought to any of that?
If I had people that would do it, yes.
That's your
So,
next challenge.
Charlie was our treasurer when we were at the library, but since we're at the Historical Society, all we have to do is turn the money in to the treasurer at the Historical Society, and he puts it, in line with the line item for the Civil War Roundtable. So we don't have to like keep our own books for things like that now that we're part of the Historical Society.
Oh, okay.
And marketing, the Historical Society struggles with having a marketer for that even. So what I do is I do most of our own and take it, but I'm not very good at it. And we've gotten someone on the board for the Historical Society that's starting to climb a little bit with her marketing skills. And so hopefully she'll pick up and do some more for the roundtable as well.
Is there someone in your sphere who's been a mentor or an inspiration to you? And if so, what way?
Well, of course, I'm going to have to say Jerry. You can't, if anyone knows, it's Jerry Payne that was a Lincoln presenter. He's a wealth of knowledge, and as it has been known, he's very humble and very easy to get along with. Like I always say, Jerry has forgotten more about the Civil War than I have time on this earth to learn. And I continue to tell our members that so that they understand that I walked in not knowing, and I've been learning from Jerry.
Where do you see your roundtable in the next 5 years?
That's hard to say. It'll still be with the Historical Society in some format or another. Depending, unless, like if the Historical Society gets grants or anything to have promotional or do things with presentations, I'm sure they'll share it with the roundtable, and I'll be able to continue with things like that. I'm thinking that I may have to drop down to like Marietta, how they did. They only have 4 or 5 roundtable meetings a year because they just don't have the money for it. So or the people they're running very low. I went down to a monument. They put up a new monument for the Rufus family, that he was a Civil War and his wife, and they had letters and they did a book dedication and then this monument dedication, and I was invited down. I think a lot of roundtables in the area were, and a few of us went, and I got to hear that they have very little people also in charge of the roundtable, and that's kind of the way it goes.
I did not know that. I've been to one of their meetings and it was well attended.
I think it's because they don't have meetings every month. So you can't say, oh, I'll just go next month. I'm busy tonight. Oh, I'm going to go out to eat. I'll go next month. They can't say that because I think they do it maybe a little more often than quarterly, depending. And I know they don't do it in the winter, which we don't either, because a lot of our people don't drive at night. So they're like, so I have from March until November for meetings. So, and I think they were doing that too.
Meeting in the summer as well?
Yes.
Have you ever considered becoming a sister roundtable to another roundtable?
Actually, I did sign up with Andrew's group when it first started, but
Mhm.
I'm a geotard. I can't find my way out of a wet paper sack. So getting me out of town, and it's always me by myself. There's no interest from the group to do anything. And when we had team meetings, we talked about doing things like this, and they're like, well, it's up to you. You'll be the one doing it. So it's either me or not at all.
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, yeah.
And are you familiar with the Congress's Sustainability Challenge?
I am. I did learn about it a little bit more detail when we were in Gettysburg, and it looks like something that it would be beneficial to a lot of places, especially those that have more than one person that's running the show. I send out all the information that comes about um, to the membership and to my team. The only person that probably jumps on anything with the sister and as well as the sustainability is Jerry, because Jerry sticks and stays up with everything going on. So sad, but it's a worthwhile program. It's just you have to have people to help you with the program.
Well, and not all of it applies to everybody. So
Right.
kind of pick and choose what would work for your roundtable and, go for it.
Yeah. We've tried different things. We had a team member at one time that was gung ho. It was his idea. He sent out a form, found out who had Civil War ancestors. He wrote a couple really good stories on those families, and that then he got ill and decided that this was more than he could do, and he completely dropped out. So, it's you come up with a really good idea, but then you can't find someone to run with the idea after that person can no longer do it. I ask my membership often, is anyone willing to take the helm of this, because it's a little more than what I can do. And, they all just sit there and look at you.
It is a common problem.
Right.
So, what else do you want to tell us about your roundtable?
Well, I do have some hopes for a roundtable. If I knew more, or if I had more people like that, Jerry and Ross, to have these conversations. There's Rocky Mountain Civil War Roundtable.
Hmm.
They actually go in, and when they meet, they literally discuss the battles. And um, I don't know if you remember when we were at Gettysburg, when Chris did the thing about Stonewall. If Stonewall went to Gettysburg, what would have
Yes.
happened? Well, they do scenarios like that, and then they put it in their newsletter. And I tripped over them on Facebook, and I joined just so I could get their newsletters, because I have hopes that somebody's going to stand up to me someday and say, I know a lot about the Civil War and I'd like to share it. And I'd love to have that type of conversation going on and that type of education going on, and not just entertainment by having a presenter.
That sounds like a great idea. Are you able to reprint those articles from the?
I do. I share them. I do share them with that's why I joined, because I figured if they're sending them to me, then I can share. And so and I, I've told them on Facebook that I enjoy what they're doing, and I share with my Civil War Roundtable, but you know, Facebook's Facebook, you know, so, but
Yeah.
they really seem to have it going there.
What else do you want to share with us?
Actually, we kind of coast. I know it sounds a little silly, but it's kind of on autopilot as long as I can find presenters to come. And I don't know if you're aware, Chris Hart and Van Young, they both have like between 70 and 90 presentations that they do. And
Wow.
yeah, so that I will probably alternate quite a bit with them, because he speaks well, and my people can hear him well, and they really enjoy him. And Chris, they love the fact that he stands up there and talks for 45 minutes without looking at a note, so it's, yeah. So I think as long as I have people like that to continue, we'll be going okay.
Okay, good. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, and it's been interesting talking to you.
Yes, thank you for it. I know I stalled on you for a while there. I had a lot to learn, but I'm learning.
Sounds like you are. You're doing a good job, I'm sure.
Thank you.